Greetings everybody, this is slicedlime. This is a new series. It's going to be here every Sunday, and I actually do have a lot of game development background, and I haven't really sort of put that to use on this channel. I've been in the games industry for more than 10 years now, released 4 AAA titles. Coming up on the 5th one, which is Mirror's Edge Catalyst, coming out this May. But anyway, this is going to be rants about design aspects in certain games, and it's not going to be only Minecraft, but we're going to start with Minecraft. And sort of be a rant kind of only thing. You can listen to it as well as you can watch it if you want to. But let's get going, shall we? This first one is about Minecraft 1.9, because now the developers of Minecraft have stated that we are sort of done getting features for Minecraft 1.9, and it's only like balancing, bug fixes, and performance fixes left to do, so it's a pretty good opportunity to feedback on the things. There are a lot of things in Minecraft 1.9 that I like. There are a lot of things that I like about Minecraft 1.9, and especially way back in like some Hotbar Survival episode, one of the really early episodes actually, I talked a bit about what I wanted for Minecraft 1.9 before we even found out that it was a combat update, and I talked about wanting more features for survival, despite being maybe primarily a map maker and command blocker as it was back then. So there are a lot of these things that are precisely what I wanted, but there's also a few things that I think need tweaking, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's start with it. The combat update, they say. Obviously a lot of the stuff is focused around combat, which is good. I think the Minecraft combat is extremely simple. It's kind of random and kind of broken in some ways, so it's good that they went for updates on this. There's a problem with probably the biggest change of the whole of Minecraft combat though, and that is the spam clicking versus not spam clicking. And I'm not going to be negative about this the same way that large parts of the PvP community are negative about it. I don't mind the feature as such. It's actually a pretty interesting thing. The problem I do have with it though is that Minecraft is it's not a precise experience, right? So you're never quite sure in advance if you're gonna hit or miss, because there's so much like lag and other factors involved that already in the previous versions of Minecraft, missing somebody has had a pretty harsh penalty, and there's no real way of avoiding missing somebody, because even if you aim perfectly well, you might still miss because of lag or whatever. The networking code doesn't really seem to have much in terms of latency compensation. That meant Minecraft has been kind of a click fest this far. It's been spam clicking to win combat, pretty much. And it's good that they're trying to get rid of that, but I worry about the latency compensation is not there, because it means that now missing a shot carries a much higher penalty, and there's no real way other than kind of learning to feel the lag and stuff like that. That's what happened in very early shooter games, for instance, like the very, very old Battlefield games, made way before I started working at DICE, used to have the problem where, since there wasn't any latency compensation, you had to lead characters, you had to shoot in front of them as they ran, and the distance you had to use depended on their lag and your lag to the server, and that's exactly what's happening in Minecraft now. You have to sort of know the amount of lag involved in order to be able to hit somebody, and that is a problem, I believe, problem that they are making now much, much worse with these changes to the system. Now that's actually made a much bigger problem by the fact that I don't have a good, simple tip to solve this other than, like, rewrite your networking engine, which is obviously a massive deal. So that's maybe my primary worry about this. The second thing I'm going to talk about is loot. The notch apples and golden apples were rebalanced in a quite early snapshot. Had a massive outburst of negativity from the community over those changes, and some of them were reverted. Now the thing that also happened is that the notch apple is still nerfed, which I'm perfectly fine with, but also the recipe has disappeared from the game. So you can't make them anymore, but you can find them in dungeons. And what that means is that finding one in a dungeon is a massive competitive advantage. Now that in turn would have been completely and utterly fine if finding a dungeon wasn't a completely random event. Finding a dungeon is not something you can actively do. You can of course go out looking through caves and trying to find dungeons, but there's no way of specifically searching for a dungeon. So essentially what's happened is that a massive competitive advantage has been given by random in the game, and there's no way to really balance that out because you can't even get to the point where you make one yourself. That is a big problem, I think. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to expand the sort of exploration part of survival Minecraft to the point where not only do you have to go and find certain items in dungeons, but there's also much more of an incentive to go exploring. I get that, but then they also have to provide tools so that you can actually find what you're looking for, or know at least which rough area to look in, and that just doesn't exist in the game currently. All of that does mean that if you're going to run something like an ultra hardcore season in PvP or something like that, you pretty much are forced in Minecraft 1.9 to run it with some certain rules that you have to throw away the notch apples if you get them and stuff, or you have to run a server with custom loot tables installed. And that to me seems pretty weird. Now on the topic of things you eat, the food mechanic was also updated, which could be good because Minecraft already features a way overcomplicated food model where the actual thing that matters, your saturation, is never shown on screen. You kind of have your health bar and you have your food bar, and those two are shown on the screen, but the way your food bar is reduced is controlled by the saturation mechanic, which is actually not shown anywhere. And it's always been a bit of a problem with that mechanic in my opinion. What has happened now is actually that the saturation plays an even bigger part in that you can eat to gain health much quicker, and the saturation value of what you eat determines how big of a change that is. Which means that the last piece of food you eat before you fill up your hunger bar now plays a massive role. It becomes this really, really weird mechanic, and the way it is right now doesn't make sense at all to me. So there's two ways to go, in my opinion, with this in order for it to not feel entirely random and broken. The first thing is, well, go back. Go back to where filling up your hunger bar heals you. That's it. What you see on screen is what you get. Or you can actually go the other way and actually start showing your saturation level on screen. Then you can see what it is. I'm still not a fan of that because once you get your hunger full, you can't eat anymore. So once you figure out that you did something wrong, you ate a melon instead of a steak, then you can't fix the problem without running and jumping until you get hungry again. Honestly, pretty silly. Alright, let's move on. The snapshots this week introduced, finally, a way of getting the potion-tipped arrows in survival. It involves throwing a lingering potion, which is an incredibly expensive item that is made using Dragon's Breath, and Dragon's Breath is obtainable easily in the dragon fight, but it's entirely annoying to get. So you have to get those, you have to make the lingering potions, you have to throw one on the ground and shoot arrows into it, and out of that you can get at most 6 potion-tipped arrows. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody has ever coated an arrow in something by shooting it through a cloud of gas. In addition, there's no other mechanic in the game that works anything like this. It's made worse by the fact that there's a glitch, which means that you can actually automate this, and I recently made a machine for that with some redstone, to where you get 300 or essentially infinite amount of arrow from one single potion. So they're not actually expensive, they're just annoying to get. There's no real reasonable way of getting lots of tipped arrows without building a structure or mechanism for getting them. Now they could patch out that glitch and make it so you only ever get at most 6 potion-tipped arrows, but that makes them so expensive that they're never going to be used. They're not really worth it unless you grind terribly much. And if you do grind, they're still simple to get. It's just a grindy thing to get. It's not a difficult thing to get. So that mechanic is entirely weird to me, and they didn't do what I thought they would, and what I suggested to some fellow map makers in a Skype chat yesterday. I was thinking that they would use the Cauldron for this. The Cauldron is an incredibly underused item in Minecraft. It is something essentially nobody ever uses, and the only real reason that I've seen people use it recently is because Redstoners sometimes use it for the comparator properties it has. So I suggested this. You should have a cauldron that you fill up with water, you put a potion into it by right-clicking when you're aiming at it with a potion, and then you should tip arrows by dipping them in the cauldron by right-clicking on the cauldron with an arrow in your hand, and that's closer to a regular Minecraft mechanic. You would use the cauldron, which has almost no use and should be related to brewing and potions, which is nice, and it would also make the recipe expensive but obtainable at a reasonable rate. So I suggested this in a chat, and Semisaurus6 actually went and made a resource pack and command block proof of concept showing how this could look in game. So I'm going to link that at the end of the video and in the video description if you want to go and take a look at that. So I hope the developers of Minecraft hear this feedback on the mechanic and make something a bit more reasonable out of it. It can still be expensive, but it shouldn't be grindy that way. There's one final thing I'm going to mention in this rant, and that is transportation. They fixed boats, so now we have awesome rowing boats in the game. They added the elytra, the wings, so you can fly around, which is awesome too. And of course we have horses that you can ride around on. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? But there's one transportation item. One item that is purely meant for transport in the game, and that is minecarts. I've been using minecarts since way back. The first version I started playing of the game was when Minecraft just went from alpha into beta. We had these weird, wicked booster cart stations that you would build, highly technically involved stations, and then all of it got much easier with the powered rail and the detector rails and all of that stuff as Minecraft developed. I've always had a soft spot for minecart. They provide a nice and easy way of traveling through a large stretch. You get to see the landscape, you get to travel a large distance with them. They are made for travel. However, they're also rubbish at travel in the game currently, if you compare them to pretty much anything. Boats can be made faster. The elytra are definitely faster. There's ways of making ice streams and mob collision works for you, as I did in my creature accelerated transport concept. Even a fast horse is significantly faster than minecarts. So if you go through all of this effort to build a massive railcart network on your server, on your single player world, there's just no use for it. It doesn't give you anything. And I feel that's sad. It is a very resource intensive thing, and it creates a nice structure going through your world, creating these rail lines, stations and all that. That is something that should be useful and should be rewarded in the game. They were experimenting with faster rail cars that derailed and stuff, and I think that's why it was taken out. But I think honestly those bugs should be fixed and we should get better rail carts. I would be fine seeing a rail cart, special kind of rail cart that is faster, with a much more expensive recipe. That would be perfectly acceptable to me. So you have to have a special rail cart, or even special rails, special high acceleration rails would also be fine. Something that brings minecarts back into the game as a valid and vital component in building a large scale world. And so that's that. Minecraft 1.9 is coming, and it's coming from the Science Deviancy reasonably soon. What do you think about these suggestions and complaints, I guess? In this video, do you agree? Do you not agree? Please leave a comment down below. I would love to have more discussions around this. So leave your suggestions. Thank you very much for watching, and I guess mostly for listening to this rant. And I hope you liked the feature, and there'll be another rant next Sunday. My name is slicedlime, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.